Welcome back. The Voices for Choices and Rights Coalition, VCRC, is a leading coalition of reproductive justice organizations, activists and individuals in Namibia. We're now joined by the Deputy Director of Programs, the lead for the Voices for Choices and Rights Coalition, Tuli Kamati. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Please introduce VCRC to Namibia, because I'm sure there's somebody watching, that hasn't heard about the organization before. Who is the organization and what is it that you do?
All right. So VCRC was founded in 2020 upon the launch of a petition by Beauty Boys after we saw the maternal mortality rates by unsafe and illegal abortions. So we launched the petition for safe, legal, on-demand abortions, and that petition got over 60,000 signatures. And at the back of that, we organized protests, stakeholder meetings with lawmakers and policymakers, and so that is how the coalition was birthed. But we have sort of re-strategized and moved on, not away, from our primary goal, which is to make sure that equality is the standard, not the destination.
Right.
Yes. So VCRC was basically born because of all the inequalities that are happening within the country. It's there for the voices and choices of people, specifically bodily autonomy. Yes.
What was the thought process behind the establishment of an organization such as this? What is it that you'd like to, of course, achieve at the end of the day?
I think it's very important as someone who, his parents who fought in the liberation struggle, as a mother who worked hard and only attained a university qualification at 50. For most of us, activism, we didn't go out seeking it. It found us, right? So the thought process that went into it, it was just, we looked at the current landscape in our country, unemployment, women being oppressed on the daily, statistics of child dumping, people's choices being violated all the time. And so that was the main thought process that went behind it. Yes.
Are there enough voices in Namibia, to be heard on these contentious issues that your organization stands for? You mentioned in the beginning that, you started it off of the fact of the mortality mother rate concerning illegal abortions, and that you had a petition going around that. And how far did that go, to begin with?
The petition was quite a success because we were then given the opportunity to present it in front of the the Parliamentary Standing Committee, and which then sort of catalyzed the Parliamentary Committee to have a nationwide public hearings regarding abortion. So that is one step in which we did civic engagement, because we noticed that a lot of times when it comes to these polarizing issues, there's a lot of apathy because people feel their voices will not be heard. But we've also seen that the youth really are starting to show up for themselves. We've seen that in various ways in which they are showing forth their discontent with the current situations that are happening in the country. Yes.
So you would say that, these movements that you stand for, because you've been at the forefront of the Shut It All Down Namibia, the Feminist Festival, etc. Would you say that these types of rallies or protests really add value to the change your organization is advocating for?
Yes, they do. Because when people show up for protests, that means that they believe that the government and the constitution is being upheld. Because before the constitution, our parents, our grandparents, people who fought during the apartheid era didn't have the right to assemble and have their voices heard. So I think it's really important that people show up to protests. It's really important to have your voices heard, but we also have a component which is disruption, and sometimes change doesn't happen without disruption. Because if all we do is say, complain and we don't do anything, that means that we're sort of saying that, oh, we're uncomfortable, but we're okay with the discomfort. And that is not the case here. Yes.
Well, another avenue that you've now delved into also is the Reproductive Justice Center.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So the Reproductive Justice Center is our flagship clinic where we offer free reproductive justice services, which is HIV screening, pre and post counseling, of course, contraceptive commodities, also reproductive health screening, and then comprehensive sex and reproductive health education. So those are the services that we offer, because while we're engaging government and various stakeholders on abortion law reform, we decided that what if we go into service provision to meet the government halfway, because we know that a lot of times the government experiences stockouts when it comes to contraceptives. So community members or people of reproductive age are given what is there, not necessarily what is appropriate for their weight, age, all of these things that play into side effects. So, and also the reason why we do a comprehensive reproductive education is because we need to assure you or give you the proper guidelines as to what adverse side effects the contraceptives will have. And sometimes you don't even need it, you just needed the education. And obviously this is now a domino effect where people are able to then pass on the correct information to others. Because I can remember when I was a teenager, I was getting information from other teenagers, and that's not right. And unfortunately, we also now have seen that a lot of times kids are getting information from the wrong sources. So we're now engaging schools, we're engaging institutions of higher learning to do collaborative education programs that is age appropriate, of course. Yes.
You said one of the things that the clinic offers is reproductive health screening. What does that entail?
So reproductive health screening is where we do pregnancy test. Our healthcare worker, registered nurse, you'll come in, you make your appointment, and so she screens you, takes your history, she does certain tests, she asks you some questions to just ascertain like where you are. And also to assess your socioeconomic status at that point. Say if you're married, you need to bring in your partner so you guys have a collective discussion surrounding your reproductive health or your reproductive planning, because ultimately it is about family planning. And we know family planning helps you or guides you in how your socioeconomic status turns out. So that is the reproductive assessment, reproductive health assessment, where you're asked stringent questions with regards to your reproductive health, how you've taken care of it, if you've engaged a medical professional before, if not, if you have, what were you given, what was the advice given, all of these things that go then into your file, and we're able then to assist you correctly and refer you correctly. And
where do these clinics happen, Tuli?
So our clinic is located in the city center building, that is in town, office 109. If you just go on our social media, which is VCRC, our number is right there. I apologize, I don't know it off the top of my head, but our number is there, and you can call us. If you don't have transport to come to the clinic, we will pick you up and drop you back, because we want to make this as accessible as possible. So if you don't have transport, just call us, we'll come and pick you up, or you set your appointment on a date that's appropriate for you. Yes.
And are there any costs involved?
It's all free. So we've worked it so that it's all free. And of course, we're also looking into, if you're watching and you have the big pockets to allow us to continue doing this work for free, please do contact us. Like I said, it's VCRC on all socials. On Google, we're also there. So if you'd like to donate or just collaborate with us, if you're having an expo, if you want us to come in and talk to your employees, if you want us to engage teachers at your school, because we do not deal with minors unless they're there with their guardian or parents. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, Tuli, awesome work that you guys are doing, and thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
That was Tuli Kamati from VCRC speaking to us about the organization and the programs that they undertake. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us.